all great saints, Paramhansa Yogananda included, said that actually ego transcendence is the goal of the spiritual path. And it behooves us to keep reminding ourselves that, because very often, when we talk about the spiritual path, we talk about the tools that we have on the path, meditation and service and satsang and all these things, study, all of these things which are good, which are important. But really, like one saint said in the Autobiography of a Yogi to Paramhansa Yogananda, he said, don't mistake the technique for the goal. Very important words. Don't mistake the technique for the goal. Which is to say, many times when we go through the path, we speak about all of these things, and perhaps we sometimes emphasize one more than the other, or others, let's say, emphasize one of these tools to us more than the others. But really, if we want to put everything at the end of the day into perspective, remember, ego transcendence is the goal. And what does ego transcendence mean? It's so simple on one level. It just means forgetting ultimately that we are these bodies, that we are these personalities, we are these limited identities, we are men or women, we are rich or poor, all of these bundles of self-definitions which tell us so strongly, you are Gaurav. And it's so hard to get away from that thought that you are Gaurav or you are, Pricha or Pawan. It's so hard to get away from that thought. But the more we can practice the things, the tools that we have been given, it becomes easier. And really, ego transcendence brings joy. I'll repeat that. Ego transcendence brings joy. We spoke about joy. We were singing joy, joy, joy. And we speak so much about that state of joy, bliss that we all want to achieve. But how do we find it? Really, I'll repeat again. Ego transcendence is that which brings joy. And you can use this statement as your gauge. During the day, if you're feeling joy during certain activities, or if you're not feeling joy, you can use that to tell yourself something is off. Maybe I'm not through this activity able to transcend this sense of I. And if that is the case, perhaps that is why I'm not feeling joy. Some of us from the ashram went to Babaji's cave recently. It was a small group, Deepika, myself, and one more devotee from Russia. And of course, it was a very nice pilgrimage, as Babaji's cave is just a beautiful place to meditate, feel Babaji's vibration. But we had a very interesting experience when we went there. Partially amusing, I should say. But when we went to the cave, we got there after great effort. You climb that final hill, and you reach the cave, and then you take out your asana, and you're like, okay, looking forward to some great, quiet, peaceful meditation time. So we get into the cave, and suddenly these two young men come from behind us, and they kind of brush past us and take the best seats, which is to the end of the cave. They spread out their asana, and they get very cozy and comfortable. So I'm like, okay, this is looking like some fun. And both of them, I could make out they were from the south. They were speaking some South Indian language and seemed devoted, seemed like they had a lot of reverence for Babaji. So we said, okay, let's see how this goes. So they sat down, we sat down, and we all, started to meditate. Now, a few seconds later, I hear one of them start chanting some mantras. And I'm like, wow, this is maybe an opening prayer. It's very nice. I also bowed my hands, inwardly remembered Babaji. And there was one man, and there was his disciple or student of sorts. So the man started repeating a mantra, the student followed. So I waited, I said, this is very nice. Till round 2 began. And then I thought, because it was the same mantra I could make out, so then I thought, where is this going? Or how long is this going? So when round 2 began, I quietly got up and I went to first the disciple, and I just said, we're trying to meditate. He's quiet. He said, oh yes, we'll stop. So I came back to my seat and again started meditating till round 3 began. And then they were saying out loud, thank you Babaji, which was very sweet. But what about us poor souls, who had also come there to meditate? So finally I had to tell the man, please, if you don't mind, we want to meditate. So he said, okay. So they stopped. So anyway, an hour went by, everything was quiet. At the end, they got out of the cave and we were still meditating. And right outside the cave, they stood, both of them, and they again began the mantras. And by this time, this was like a comic tragedy, because we wanted to meditate, but it was so funny on one level. So I went out, both the others were meditating, and I quietly went out and I told the man, there was a sign there which said, cave is only for meditation. So I pointed, I said, look, you should just be quiet, go a little away and you can do your mantras, whatever you have to do. And in that moment, that man just exploded. It was like something was within him, and he just had this outburst, and he just got totally mad at me. And he said, I have been coming here for 21 days, every day in the morning, and I meditate for 3 hours, and I hear these sounds, and you don't have even a little bit of patience. And suddenly, I was just like, what is happening? He seemed like such a nice man and, so devoted. But suddenly, he just completely lost it. And to the point, where he started pushing me, and I said, okay, I am going back inside the cave. And I just quickly came away and I kept quiet and came to the cave. But why am I telling this story? Again, don't mistake the technique for the goal. Ego transcendence is the goal, and ego transcendence brings joy. This was, to my mind, just a perfect example of something not going right, something being imbalanced. And Yogananda ji and many saints talk about this, that when you become too focused on techniques to the exclusion of what is the purpose, why are we doing the techniques? Our meditation should be bringing us joy and not this heightened sense of ego that this man unfortunately had, that I have been doing this. And I told him, you may be coming here for 21 days, that's great, but what about us? We've come for an hour, one of us from Russia, don't you have a little bit of just respect for other people's realities? And this is what happens when the ego just shrinks. You think you're doing the right thing, but actually you are shrinking and cutting yourself off from the larger stream of reality. So something to just keep in mind, as we go through our day, because friends, so many times in our day we have opportunities. Each one of us, we have so many opportunities at work, when we are talking to our spouse, when we are talking to our children, when we are talking to other people, when we are meeting them. We have the opportunity to practice this ego transcendence. And I remember, when I was new on the spiritual path, I would say I was pretty raw in some respects, and in one respect in particular, that I think sometimes we get into this, my way is the right way, and everyone else should follow because my way is the best way, really. So I would also, I remember, get into that, and when you're in that kind of frame of mind, nothing goes right. There is no joy in that. There is just strain and struggle, and you think everyone should follow you. Why are they not listening to me? Why are they not acknowledging me? All shades of the same disease, you can say, when the ego is contractive. But I have found with time, with practice, because Swamiji, the great ones, have given us these teachings, that now, more and more after some years of practicing, those very same things that used to cause me pain and irritation and frustration and grief in the beginning, it's a very strange thing, but those very same things now bring me joy. And nowadays I find myself enjoying, when people slight me, or when people ignore me, or if somebody says, oh, I had this great idea, and they tell everyone, and I'm like, yeah, but I told you that idea 5 minutes back, and suddenly they're like, it's my idea. But when all these things are happening now, I'm starting to feel joy. And Swami said this is really what begins to happen to devotees when we start practicing ego transcendence. Because it's a little switch. The ego, he said, is located here at the medulla. And when till the time you're thinking about yourself, you're contractive, it's like a dam. It's a dam holds a lot of water, but if you don't allow the water to go out after a certain point, it just bursts. But if you, from time to time, you open the floodgates and you're like, let some water pass downstream to the river, then everything is fine. And the same way with us, when we go through life, and things happen to us. It is instinctive in the first moment when somebody says something mean to you or nasty or misbehaves, to react. But I have found if you can in that moment not react, but turn that feeling inward and upward and share it with God. Share it with Divine Mother and say, oh, Divine Mother, how does it matter? How do I matter? How does it matter if they didn't acknowledge me? How does it matter if they didn't invite me? How does it matter if no one spoke of me? How do I matter? And if you can start getting to that stage, you'll feel just that simple act, it opens the floodgate. Because there is that pent-up emotion that you feel in that moment, whatever it might be, anger, irritation, expectation, and just in that simple act, you offer it up, you release the dam. And then really, I tell you, it's just amazing. What you feel is joy. You feel the joy of your own nothingness. Because everything that brings us sorrow, ultimately, it's just that feeling that I am suffering, I am important. So I would say practice this. Like I said, every single day we have this opportunity to practice this. And whenever something happens, just turn it inward, share it with God, and affirm that I am nothing. I am not this personality, I am not, all of these things that are outside me, as we were affirming. I am joy, I am even-minded and cheerful at all times. And I have seen sometimes when you do this and you're getting good at this game of ego transcendence, God starts to test you more. He says, oh really, you're getting the hang of this. Let's just increase the level of the game. But really, it's just to test. It's just to test, is it really joy or is it happiness? Does it come and go? Or is it really that state of unconditional joy which is not touched by anything? And to ascertain that, you need tests. You go to school, why do we get tested? Why do we have exams? Just to know, you spent one whole year reading those books. Did you really get anything? And so you say, yes, I got it. How? Write the exam. And you get good marks. And you're like, okay, he understood the concept. He got it. So God says, did you get joy? Did you get it or did you not get it? Or are you still trying to find it? And he says, okay, try it in this situation. See if someone, says something very mean to you and see, are you able to hold on to your joy? Right? And so these tests, we have to be grateful. We have to see everything that happens in our life every day, no matter what shape, form, size, whether it's pleasing, displeasing, it's all for our good. Because it's all trying to say, have you reached there, Gaurav, or not today? Okay, not today, try again tomorrow. I'll come back again, God says, in some other shape, through some other person, through some other conversation. And so we have a fresh day, we begin again, and we keep trying and we keep trying. But I tell you, this may seem theory in the beginning, but you practice it, and I can assure you, it works. It works. And then, as we have often said, the things that seem to most people like tests, I am going through this test and that test and this happened to me. Really, you go with this attitude in life and nothing starts to feel like a test anymore. Right? And so I see sometimes all of these things are happening to me, people are doing, saying things, and let's face it, in this world, it's an imperfect world. So, you can be on the spiritual path, you can be in the best ashram in the world, your karma finds you, God will bring you your tests, God will bring you those people in Babaji's cave, we had gone there for such a blissful meditation, and, God brought us that person, but we kept our calm, we kept our joy, we kept our peace. So we will find, we can't escape these things, but when you start seeing them in the right way, you don't want to escape. You see, they are adding to your strength. They are helping you in this journey. And like I said, then I see around me, and someone might be going through the exact same situation, but they might be feeling totally overwhelmed by it. Why? Just for the simple reason they are taking it personally. They're thinking, they're feeling bad. I wasn't acknowledged, or I wasn't, whatever it might be. And to me, it's like a cause for great joy. That how nice, like Swamiji would say, when people don't think of you, because we are not important. We are not important in the final analysis. And the more we can get away from that thought, the happier we will be. In life, we also have to practice. Another way to get joy is nishkam karma, which we often speak about. My joy is not conditioned, as the reading was saying, by anything outside myself. And I have had a lot of fun practicing this when it has come to money. And money is something that we all have to deal with, work with, earn, get. And money can bring up a lot of interesting lessons, I should say. And I have not wanted money, but like Swami would say, he at one point, he was a monk. After 14 years in his guru's ashram, he was, suddenly asked to leave. And then he said, I was out in this world and I had to start earning money. And Swami said, I just did not like it, because my life was dedicated to God. I wasn't interested. But anyway, he had to go through it. And he said that, he gained a lot of spiritual strength in the act of earning money, because he said the same things that you need to earn money rightly, dharmically in the world, sincerity, concentration, focus, integrity, you need those same qualities on the spiritual path. And so, but I have found again that when we give our lives to God, when this self-offering that I was talking about, giving everything to God, offering everything to Divine Mother, then God takes care of us in every way possible, down to the mundane details of our life. And sometimes I hear people say, this challenge is there financially, this is why I'm not coming on this trip or that pilgrimage. And when Swamiji was in the body, he would travel around the world, and people would travel to see him, to be one moment with him, because as the scriptures say, one moment in the company of a saint can be a raft across the ocean of delusion. But when I sometimes would see these people bringing the logical mind to those situations, I have this work, and sometimes people lost one opportunity to be with him, and then Swami passed away. And so in my own life, when I have to work with money, it's a great experience, because you get to again test these principles. And I was remembering this morning that One time I was working on a project, and it took a lot of energy. Somebody asked me for help. I said, okay, I will help you with it. And it took 10-15 days, a lot of energy every day just to work on that. And of course, there should have been a fair exchange of energy, because at that point I was taking projects that brought some income. But very interestingly, this devotee, who was also a friend, unfortunately, they just did not, the thought didn't occur to them that I should probably exchange some energy. And when I was going through that project, I came to know that, they had no thought to, give anything in return. And it was an interesting dilemma for me, because I was like, what do? I am well into it now, but I know there is nothing coming in return, but one needs to pay their bills. So I had some fun with God, and I said, perfect opportunity to practice Nishkam Karma. So I said, okay, Master, this is for you, this is your devotee, I'm going to practice it, and that's okay. They are being helped, that's my joy, which is, what we so often talk about. So I practiced that, the project ended, nothing came, and a few days later, another project came, and some devotees again asked for some help, which I gave. And they had asked me in the beginning, what can we give you? So I had mentioned something, suggested an amount. And when the project ended, again, it was for 10-15 days, they gave me an envelope. So I said, thank you so much. But when I opened the envelope, 3 times the amount of money that I had requested was in there. And I was surprised. So I said, no, take it back. But they were so adamant, they just did not let me take that money. And to me, it was just, a very direct response to what I had practiced earlier, which is that when our attitude is right, when our energy is right, when we actually practice these things that we talk about so often, then God is going to take care of us. We so often chant in the beginning, we do that invocation, Tvameva Mata, Cha Pita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhu, Cha Sakha Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya, Dravinam Tvameva. Dravinam means, I think, wealth. But we have to live that chant every single day. It cannot be theory. It cannot be something we say, but then we go back home and we are worrying about all the things that we all have to worry about. No, bring God into the picture. Father, mother, friend, brother, wealth, knowledge, wisdom, everything. And when we do, you will just see life just becomes so joyful. It's just such a miracle. Every day you wake up and you're like, wow, or at the end of the day, you're like, wow, Divine Mother, today you really excelled yourself, and you start having fun. Life becomes so joyful. And really it all begins with ego transcendence. Giving up this sense of I. It's like a river. When you're standing on one bank of the river, we often say, you have a goal. Okay, I want to swim across to the other bank of the river. And the river is flowing fast, but you are determined, you want to do that. And so you swim across to the river with great struggle and strain, and you reach the opposite bank, and maybe you enjoy, the swim a little bit. But really, if you stand at the edge and you ask the river, where are you going? And the river says, well, I'm going to the sea. And then you ask, well, can you carry me with you? And the river says, yes, come. And all you have to do is just step into the water and just allow it to carry you. There is no struggle, there is no strain. And really the river is taking you where you want to go. You want to go to the sea, but you have to give up, we have to give up this sense of, I want it this way. Or yes, God is there, but I also have these, my idea of how things should be and things should function. Because if you just relinquish that little sense of I, you feel that the stream, God is saying, jump into my stream and I am going to take you to a much better place than you yourself could swim to. And that takes faith, which we all have. We just have to increase it more and more and more. And then life becomes very, very joyful. So let's just keep these few things in mind, that ego transcendence brings joy. Everything that we do in our day, you can just tell, am I every day more joyful? Or am I becoming less joyful? Because really the tools are not guaranteed. All of these things can make you, or you might come out of them feeling less joyful. You could be meditating without any joy. You could be serving without any joy. You could be with people in a satsang without any joy. Because it's not those things that are guaranteeing that, okay, you will get there. It's how you use them. If you realize, it's an opportunity, it can help me if I approach it in the right way. And that's why I was saying in the beginning, meditate with joy, not as something that's going to come someday. Bring Divine Mother into it right now. Okay, Divine Mother, I'm here. I'm watching the breath. It's not going so well. The mind just wandered. Okay, let's bring it back. Okay, Kriya is happening now. Bring God into the picture. Bring joy into the picture. And you will be always joyful. God will never abandon us. As one saint said in the Autobiography, the one who has fed us air and milk from our first breath knows how to take care of his devotees day by day. So let's have that increasing faith in God, in Gurus, and they will surely be with us. Joy to you.